Happy video day, guys. Christina, Brooke here. Today we're doing a Make Up Your Mind and I'm very excited. A brand new holiday launch has just been announced and it is Pat McGrath's brand new holiday lineup. So let me grab my phone so I could share everything with you guys. So we'll first kind of go over what's going to be released and then we're going to start the Make Up Your Mind. So this is the holiday launch. I'll throw it up on the screen so you guys can check it out. So this is going to be called the Celestial Nirvana collection. It's her 2022 holiday release and it's going to have a bunch of stuff. So it's going to have another Mothership Mega Celestial Nirvana palette that has mattes, metallics, and some sparkle in it. So it's going to be that massive palette that we always get every year lately, and I love these palettes. I have both of her last launches. This is going to be the third one, and I definitely am probably going to pick this one up. I shouldn't be saying that yet because we have to do the Make Up Your Mind, but I mean, like, I'm a sucker for these big palettes, so anyways, so then the next one is we're going to have two Divine Blush and Glow Cheek Palettes. So they are mixes of her best sellers. So I've got to look at these because I actually think that they're really, really, really pretty. However, I picked up some of her blushes when she did her sale. So I've got a lot of her blushes. I've got to see which ones of these might not have some of the colors that I have because I do think that these are really cool sets. But I might actually have a lot of these colors already. So just keep that in mind. She is saying that it's a mix of bestsellers and there's some new shades. So before committing to either one of these, I'm gonna have to check and see which one doesn't have a bunch of shades that I already own. Each one is gonna have one new shade and the rest are gonna be existing. At least that's what I can see. I'll try to pop anything on the screen that I could find out so that you guys can kind of check this. But yeah, it looks interesting. But like I said before, I need to see which colors I have and which ones I don't. Then there's going to be a Celestial Nirvana eyeshadow palette. So it's going to be a 5-pan palette with new formula. So I'm assuming that means that the whole palette's going to be new formulas or they're going to introduce a new formula. So this is the Nude Allure. It's going to be the Warm Nude Bronze palette. And then the Bronze Bliss, which is going to be the Cool Platinum Bronze palette. Honestly, looking at these, I'm going to be honest, like, they're cool looking, but they're like the least exciting out of everything for me. They're cute. I do kind of like this sizing for Pat McGrath. I would love to know what the pricing is going to be. If I get any pricing details, I'm also going to put them up. But I think that this could be interesting. This could be an interesting price point and maybe an interesting palette, but probably nothing I'm going to pick up. I don't think I'll pick up either one of these. Then there's going to be the Sublime Skin Highlighter, and it's going to be in Venusian Nude. It's a peach nude with a silver sparkle. She's also releasing a new blush, which is going to be the Nude Venus 2. The Velvet Kohl Eyeliner in Extreme Black. So there's going to be two new lipsticks. Then there's going to be the Dark Star Mascara in a blue color, it seems. Then there's going to be the Mini Nude Venus Trio. So it's a Nude Venus lipstick, gloss, and lip pencil set. And the Mini Divinity Lip Duo, which is going to have Nude Venus and Temptress. So that is everything. Oh my goodness, what a huge holiday launch this was. And it's like everything got announced at the same exact time. I really like the lipstick color, especially the reddish color. I may actually pick up that reddish forbidden color. I'm not sure yet, but if you look at the mascaras, it's not just blue, it's like pink. There's an aqua, like, how crazy is that? That's really, really cool. So there's really interesting things in this launch. I really think that she created like a huge holiday launch, like huge, okay? So I wanna know from you guys, what are you excited for? I know that at this moment we probably don't have exact price tags, but what are you excited for from this launch? Leave it down below and tell me if you're excited. But today we're gonna do a Make Up Your Mind. So I searched through my collection and I try to mimic an eyeshadow palette. So today we're gonna try to mimic the brand new Celestial Nirvana palette. I searched everywhere. I found a few palettes that gave me similar looks. I am going to swatch it out on my arm. So I'm really excited to get an idea of what this color story may look like. So I can gauge for myself if this is something that I really need in my collection. I usually end up buying these palettes anyways because I just really love them, but we're still gonna do this practice because you guys love it and I love to see what something might look like. So let's go ahead and let's get into it right now. So like I always do, I show you guys what it's gonna look like from the beginning. So this is what I found and this is what the palette looks like. So this is basically where we're going here, and I think I was able to kind of mimic this palette at least from her swatches, which, guys, we all know Pat McGrath swatches are always so color enhanced. that your guess is as good as mine if they're really gonna look like this. And I cross my fingers that we have something similar to what the palette will look like, but with Pat McGrath, you really honestly never know until you get it. So basically the palettes that I used to mimic this was the Celestial Divinity. I did jump into Metropolis from Natasha Denona. I jumped into the Odyssey, so this is her newest palette. I jumped into the Pat McGrath Odyssey. I also jumped into Zendo. I jumped into the Riviera from ABH. I also grabbed 1 or 2 colors from Circle Loco, and finally, the last palette that I jumped into was Divine Rose, the original. So that's how I was able to mimic the color story. Of course, I try to jump into as many palettes as I possibly can to try to get the color story exact, because what we're trying to do here is see what it might look like, okay? And for me to kind of get an idea of what colors I would like to mix together, if I think the palette makes sense or not. So let's go ahead and let's start off with the very first colors. This 6th color right here, I believe it's gonna look like this. So this is kind of like a very cool tone brown. And if you look at it, the swatch in the swatch online, it really looks like a cool tone brown. So I think it's gonna look very similar to that color, if not identical, which Pat McGrath kind of likes to give us like multiple of like the same browns in multiple palettes. So I wouldn't be shocked if it was like almost identical. So for the next one, what I did was I jumped into Riviera. So Riviera, actually, believe it or not, from ABH, I feel like there was a few colors that look similar. Actually, even look at that brown, that could have been similar as well. And I jumped into this color right here called Yacht. So Yacht is like a goldy bronzy color, and by the swatch, that's kind of like what it looked like a goldy bronze. So I decided to just go for that color, and I think it's gonna be similar. Very pretty. If you look at the first 2, I mean, you could already do a color combination with that. So for the next one, I did have to mix it up a little bit to kind of create the color. So what I did was I jumped into Metropolis. So now my Metropolis is rearranged, so I can't tell you guys the actual color, but I can point at it. You guys can kind of figure it out. What I did was I grabbed these 2, like the green and the blue matte. So if you guys know from Metropolis, the green and the blue. So what I did was I grabbed the green, laid it down, and then added a little bit of the blue on top, because I do feel like this is going to be like a greenish blue color. And looking at it this way, I do feel like I'm able to see the color a lot better. So you just have to get the good combination of green and blue, because I do think it's going to have green in it, but I do think it's going to have blue. So just looking at the swatch, it looked kind of like that. So if you mix those 2 colors together, you do have something kind of similar, at least for me to be able to get like an idea of what it's going to look like. And looking at this, like, that's kind of interesting. Like, where did that greenish blue come from? Like, it was just like kind of a shocker. I'm so happy that that was the shocker and it wasn't like a hot pink fuchsia shocker. So we're going in a good direction, Pat. I'm so happy that there's no pink right now. So next color, I jumped into Odyssey one more time. I jumped into this 4th color right here on the 2nd row, and it's kind of like a really cool like purpley color. So what I did was I laid this one down, but I thought it had a little bit too much purple, and in her swatch there was a little bit of like white included. So I did grab a little bit from this first shade right here and added it right on top, just to kind of lighten up the color, give it a little bit of like a whiter base with a little bit of gold. And I think it's gonna look something like that. Interesting. I think that's another cool color. One thing I noticed when I was swatching this like new palette, like this idea, is it's interesting. There's a bunch of like interesting tones in here, which you will see. So then I jumped into Divine Rose, and I jumped into this color right here. This is one of my favorite colors in Divine Rose, and I have a feeling it's gonna look really close to this. At least the swatch, I mean, this swatch that I saw online, I was like, wow, I've seen that color a lot from Pat McGrath, and I really feel like it's that Divine Rose color that I really, really love. I think it's gonna look close to that. It's gonna be a really pretty like mauve-y tone. At least that's what the swatch looks like, and that's what the image of the palette looks like. So I think it's gonna look like that. So the next one, I feel like it's gonna look like Razzle Dazzle from Circle Loco, which is kind of like a gold that has like a greenish hint to it. I'm kind of happy that even though she didn't go like in a whole green direction, there is some like odes to green in this palette. Like, I see a little bit of green in there. She definitely did a very colorful palette for us this year, but I do see a little bit of ode to green, right? So like, I think Razzle Dazzle has like a little bit of like a goldish green, and I think that that's kind of like what she did here, at least from the swatch. So for the next one, I also stayed inside of Circle Loco, and I grabbed Electric and Joker and mixed them together. So if I grab a little bit of Electric and lay it down, and then I put Joker on top, I'm starting to create the color that I see. Some of these colors, like, they're just really unique, and I have to make them because I don't have anything close to them. but the only way to see it is to actually make it, and that's what I did. This is a really cool color, and I almost feel like I've seen this. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if people start pulling this from one of their older palettes. Like, this is giving me the vibe of one of her older palettes. I want to say Subliminal. Was it Subliminal or Submersive? One of those two. Like, I feel like I've seen something like this from her line. I don't own that palette, but like this looks similar. So then back into Celestial Odyssey, I went into this color right here. In the top, it's like a little bit of like a pinky tone. I think it's gonna have a similar vibe to that, at least from what I'm seeing from the swatch. Really pretty, very vibrant color. Like, I don't know, to be honest, guys, if this one is gonna be a little bit more pinky or if it's gonna be a little bit more orangey. It just depends based off of her imagery. It looks more orangey, but I guess it depends on the way the reflect hits it. This one I also think is gonna be a little bit of a deeper blue. So even if I had like a little bit of black to mix into that, I think it might even be better. I'm just gonna grab a little bit of my Natasha Denona black from her new Dream palette. Just kind of like lightly put it on top of this to kind of deepen this just a little bit, because I do think it's gonna be a little bit darker, right? So in the swatch, you probably won't even see it like this because we're doing this right now. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little darker. So we're just gonna deepen that out just a little bit, make it a little bit more of a deep blue. Let's keep going, because now there's gonna be a purple. I know, I was like, whoa, where are we going here? And I went into Riviera and I jumped into this color called Cans. And I actually think that this might be like the exact color. So if I swatch it, when it swatches better, because this is a pigment, so it's like not the easiest to swatch, but it has like the same color. It's like a real Barney purple. And I do think that that's what she gave us, like a nice Barney purple. So jumping back into Circle Loco, there's a color called Firework that I love. And I think that she gave us something similar to this one. So it's like a light purple, such a pretty color. And I do think that is so close to the color she's giving us. Tell me that doesn't look like it. I don't even know if I swatched that on camera. I was so excited. But it looks like that. It's like a lightish purple, and I think it's gonna look like that. And I love that color. So now is when I jump into Divinity. And I went into this palette, this color right here. It's kind of like a nice, pretty purple. And when you swatch it, it's actually a lot lighter. Like, if you don't build it up too much, I feel like it looks really similar to the color. So I'm thinking it's gonna be something along those lines, right? Back into Circle Loco, and I jumped into this color called Snow Cone. I think it's gonna look so close to this, only maybe a little bit more icy blue. But we got the idea from this, because this is pretty blue, you know? So I get the idea. It's gonna be like a light metallic-y blue. Very interesting, like I said, like where, like these colors, like there's so many colors here. So now for the next one, what I did was I jumped into Zendo, and I jumped into this color called Vigor or something like that. It's like a reddish tone. This looks kind of similar as well, so I think it's gonna be like that. And actually, if anything, it's gonna be a little bit richer, a little deeper. So we might actually have even a darker color on our hands, maybe something a little bit more dark than this, but it's gonna be like along those lines, right? So we're gonna have like a reddish brown coolness right there. I think that's kind of cool, right? And then inside of Celestial Divinity, I jumped into this color right here, which is a really cool metallic shade. Add this one, and it is also kind of like a gold, but in this palette, it looks to me like the gold is not gonna be a yellow gold. It might be a little bit of like a champagne-y yellow. So yes, she gave us a gold, but I do think that this one hopefully is not like a super yellowy gold, right? So I think she might have calmed down with that on this palette, I hope. So the next one actually I found inside of Circle Loco, and it's this color right here. So this really pretty baby pink, but when you swatch this baby pink, it actually comes out pretty dark. Like, it's not as baby pink in the swatch, but I also added a little bit of this color on top just to deepen it out. So mixing these two together, going between this one and this one, I started to create like that very soft baby pink, which is gonna be a really cool in color for the fall. So I do think it's gonna be something like that. You've got all the colors of the rainbow here. So now we're gonna go into Divine Rose, and what I did was, can I open this? I jumped into this first color right here. This is like her inner corner color, and she usually puts a color similar to this in all her palettes. So I just grabbed this one and said, you know what? I think it's gonna look kind of close to that. Why not? So we've got two more colors to round out this palette. And what I did was I jumped into Riviera for the next one, and I mixed two shades. So what I did was I jumped into Bahama, and let's see where we could swatch this. Why not right here, because we're out of room. So I grabbed this color called Bahama, And you see how pink that is? Like, it's not that pink. But I grabbed the color Coastline and put it right on top. And if you mix Coastline with this color and you just keep going back and forth and mixing a little bit more of the pink, a little bit more of the Coastline, you start to create like almost like this fuchsia orangey color, which I think that that's the color. Actually, this one's actually a cool color, okay? So at least it's not hot pink. But I do think that when you use this, it's going to be a pink lid, okay? So, like, don't get me wrong, this is going to be pink. It's actually similar to a color that she does have in her collection from one of her palettes from Valentine's, but it's going to be something like that. Then the final color is, I jumped into this color right here from Metropolis, my rearranged Metropolis. And it's kind of just like the orangey metallic that they have in there. It's gonna look something like this metallic-y orange, maybe even a little bit lighter, okay? So guys, this is the palette, how I found it based off of the swatches, and let's go over my thoughts right now initially. There is a pretty good array of matte to metallic ratio here. I'm actually pretty shocked with that, right? So it looks like 9 mattes. So if that is true, and it is 9 mattes, that's pretty good, right? 9 metallics. So if that is true, we've got 9 and 9. I think that that's a pretty nice ratio. Like, she didn't jip us on the mattes and she didn't jip us on the metallics. So hopefully that is the case. And if it is, that's pretty cool. Like, I also think the right colors were done in mattes here. This is the case, and these are the mattes, which it looks like they are. The right colors look like they were done in mattes. So we're talking about green matte, dark blue mattes, we're talking about purple and pink. So many different routes that you can take with deepening shades and blending shades here. So for initial blending shade for most of the palette, you're gonna have this one and this one. So you're gonna have like a mauve-y, you're gonna have like a kind of like a cool tone mauve, and then you're also gonna have a pinky mauve and a light pink. So you're gonna have, you're gonna go pink sometimes here, but she is pulling you in different directions, because you could do the deepening green with this type of metallic, deepening green with this, then you can add a pink base. You've got the oranges that could work with the pinks, and then you've got blue that can go with the blues. And I mean, there's a lot going on here, okay? Now, I think that this may be one of those palettes that you use 2 colors and you call it quits. Maybe 3 colors depending on the color you're working with. But I don't think that this is going to be a palette that like every color works together. Like, there is going to be like, well, I can't mix this with this or this with this. This is going to be an aesthetically beautiful palette inside the case. It's going to look so amazing. It's going to be eye candy. But just looking off of it, it is going to be a 1 or 2 color palette that you use on your lids, and then some of the others you're going to say, like, I can't mix those together because that's just way too much. But that being said, I mean, I love these huge palettes, and that happens to me with them. When I try to use even Celestial, I believe this is Odyssey, with this one, it's like, I can't use all these colors together. Most of the time I don't. It's almost like it's Odyssey just like brought up a notch and created into more of like fun, vibrant looking palette, and I'm here for this one. I actually think that this one might be better than last year's, which was Odyssey. This might be a competition with my favorite one that she's released, which was this one. This was my favorite. This is a lot of color. It might be competition for her. It actually might be similar to her, only she's probably a little bit more on the purpley side, and this is giving us some greens and blues and stuff. So I am here for this one. I am here for this one. I think that this one could be really, really, really cool. Crossing my fingers, this formula is the same as her other year's palettes, but I am making up my mind and saying for sure, hands down, I'm picking this up. I'm loving the direction. I'm hoping that this is easy to use and that the colors are similar to this. I really hope it is, because I could just see a lot of really fun, vibrant looks that I can do. But that being said, a lot of fun, vibrant looks. If you don't like fun, vibrant looks, this might be a little bit of a hard palette for you to use. Maybe like an accent palette, or to mix in with a neutral palette, you might like it more. But yeah, I'm excited. I think that this could be really cool. Let me know down below. Are you excited? Do you think that this could be cool? Are you on board for this one? I want to know. So that's where we're ending this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.